Good morning, ladies. This week we're going to do some flowers. We haven't done flowers for a while, and we're going to do something similar to this card. And you can decorate it any way you want. It's the flowers that we're concentrating on this week. So if I show you how to do them, you can decorate the card any way you want. Okay? Right, I'll start at the beginning. For that card, I used these. And I cut out two of the big ones, one of the medium and one of the small. And I cut out one each of the leaves. But I cut that in a green perlized card. I cut them in white. But for this one we're going to do just now, I've used this die, and I think we've all got similar dies. Like, we've all got either this one, or this one. If you have something that doesn't have foliage, you'll have wee leaf stamp dies someplace. So just do them. And it's up to yourself if you want to cut it out in the green card or this one that I cut out. I used a pen and just coloured the leaves in the white, just because it all cuts out in one. So I cut that out 4 times, and then I separated all the different flowers. So all I've used is that one, and that one 4 times. I've kept the daisy ones to the side, and I'll do them at the end of the video. I'll show you how you could use them. So I've got 4 of each thing, and these flowers I've wet, and you want them soaking. So just wet them, okay? And then I've used Pro Marker this time, but for my last one I used Sharpies. Or if you don't have Sharpies, use your inks or just normal felt pens. They'll work just as well. So what I'm going to do in the centre, now remember these are soaking wet, and I'm just going to put dots. And the reason I'm putting dots is because it's been wet, it's going to start blending in, bleeding into the card. And that's what you want. You want it to bleed into the card. I don't have to go right into the centre. Now, because it's soaking wet, it's obviously going to stop the pen from working. So you just have to keep moving it round. So that's my wee dots. And then I've used it's like a cornflower blue. It's Bluebell it's called. I'm going to take it out of the water, and I'm just going to go round the outside. And I'm not being too pernickety with it. Okay, and then I'm going to put it back. Just very gently, because as I say, they are soaking wet. And I'm just quickly go round all the petals. And if I put that back in the water, that's going to let that soak in again. And you want the pen to bleed into the card. Because it's wet, it'll start bleeding in right away anyway. But you don't want a harsh line. You want it to bleed in to give it a softer line. There we go. As if it didn't have enough water on it, I'm going to put more on. And you'll see it's starting to get softer. Right, so as I say, be very gentle with it because they are soaking wet. Right, now I've got pointed tweezers. I'm going to put my tweezers on there. Now, if you've got the shaping mould, the basic flower shaping mould, use that. This is just going to give you similar results to that if you don't have it. Right, so I'm going to push that side up. Okay, take my tweezers and put them to that side and bring that side down. And then I'm going to squash it together. And that gives you the ridges. So up, move it to that side, down, and then squash it together. And you're going to go round all the petals like that. Lift it up, squash it together. So lift it up, push it down, squash. Up, down, squash. Up, down, squash. And take that out of the water now, so I'm setting that to the side. And you're going to do that with all your petals. So up, down, squash. 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 And just set it to the side, out of the water. Up, down, squash. Harder to do it with the smaller ones. And you can see that the ink from the pen has blended in and it's made it softer and it's not such a harsh line. I maybe put too much water on this because it's blended in that much that it's nearly disappeared. And then the last one. I'm just going right into the centre with the tweezers with this one and squashing. Just because it's that little. I'm going to dry up my water. Okay. And then I'm going to dry my flowers. Now, if you don't have a glass mat, just lift them up. Don't do it on top of your, right on top of your, if you've got a self-healing mat, because you'll end up ruining your mat. If you just pick it up, but if you've got a glass mat, just dry them. If you don't have a heat gun, just leave them again as you did last week overnight and they'll dry. It'll take them a while to dry because they're soaking. Just dry them off. Now I've not squashed them down in the centre or anything yet. I'll do that last. And they're 4 different sizes. So I'll start with this one because this seems to be the biggest one. And then you put the next size and you offset it. Trying to offset that as much as I can. Then put the next size on. Offset it again. And then put the next size on. And offset it again. Okay, now if you've got one of these mats, just get yourself a ball tool, quite a big one, and squash. And I used white pearl drops in the centre. And then put that to the side. Right, so that was simple enough, wasn't it? And as I say, I used green pen. This is moss green. And what was the other colour? Apple cider. That one's apple cider. And those two are moss. Now I've done this in purple this time. And the dies that I used, I have, when you cut them out, I don't know if you can see this or not. It leaves a fancy edge round where you cut it out. So I like that. So when I cut down my base card, I cut it out and then put it back in and pieced all the bits. Because when I put my next piece on, you're going to see all the purple bits, but you're going to see this nice edge all the way around. So if you've got a die similar to that, that's what you do. So I've used A4 half fold and I've cut a piece. My base colour is 5.5 by 7 7/8. And I went round it and just did a line. And I need to get a new sorry about this. I was going to get a new foam tape because I want to lift all this up. There we go. And just make sure you've got that on over. And the next size I've done in purple again. And I've put a stamp sentiment. If you don't have a stamp that you want to use, you can just die cut one. sure I've got that on the right way. And there we go. Take them out of the way. Now, I've got to figure out where I'm putting my flowers. So I'm putting 3 there, and I'm putting 1 there. Okay. Right. And I'll just glue them on, and then it's just a case of building it up. Where you're putting bits. And there we go. There now. I don't think I've glued that down. I didn't think I had. And there we go. And that's your flower. Then I just finished it off with crystal drops. Nouveau drops, or whatever you want to call them. And that just finishes it off. So that wasn't a difficult card. It's just practicing how to do flowers again, because we haven't done flowers for that long. But very effective. Okay. Right. Now, your daisies. Daisies is easy enough. Now I'm not going to wet these. I'm just going to put them on my mat. Just use 4. Get your ball tool and just run it along. This is the back side of each of the petals. Make sure my head's not in your road. And turn them the right way out. Give them a centre. And you just offset them. And like I say, I'm going to use 4 for each flower. Go. That's better. And again, just use your ball tool. Now, we've got these, and we'll just get a yellow pen. Give it a colour. Stick it on my mat. And I'm just going round the edge. Okay. Give it enough glue so that it's going to stick when you stick it on. And there you go. That's a daisy. And then there you go. Oh, doesn't help if you rattle it about. There you go, that's your daisy. So that's how to finish off using up those other flowers. I sometimes sit at night and like cut a load of flowers out. When I'm sitting watching the telly, I'll sit and shape them, and I put them in, I either put them in a bag or a wee box so that I've got flowers for a card. Okay? If you let me know what kind of flowers you want to show you how to do, we can do them in other weeks. Okay? Right, happy crafting.